Sometimes my frustration could come across as negativity when it comes to the wrestling product in general, especially when dealing with the WWE. But you know what? I'm not really concerned about the way it comes across because there are times where that frustration does need to be perceived as negativity because, frankly, the company deserves it for being stupid. And yet another example of the WWE shooting its own self in the foot, cutting its own legs out from under it, we get Ryback. A guy that they were doing a lot of good things with, building him up into this monster babyface, somebody that would be able to help along with the Cenas and the CM Punks with the burden of kind of, carrying the WWE into the future. Well, over the last 7 months, they've had Ryback lose at how many pay-per-views? He didn't win the Royal Rumble. He didn't win against Mark Henry at WrestleMania. And now they've turned him heel. Just because we needed somebody to go against John Cena. And the most compelling way we were going to do that, of course, was to take this big freaking monster that was intimidated by no one and scared of no one and wanted to fight everybody. We've taken Ryback and tried to make him into some type of lacking intensity, massive chicken shit heel. Because that's what the WWE needed, right? Was another one of those. Look, the bottom line is the WWE has had trouble for years now creating new stars. In part, there are many, many reasons for that. But one of the things is they lack continuity. They don't pick one path and stay the course. They don't go the distance. This is something I talked about before with the Ryback character, about going the distance. And even so, even without that going the distance, he was getting over as a babyface. The Goldberg chants were kind of dying away. You were getting more of the feed me more chants. The people were really excited. Look at the reaction, when Ryback freaking took out Cena after WrestleMania. The crowd went nuts. Sure, that was, That was that post-WrestleMania crowd. But the bottom line is, people are itching for something different. They want something different. So why does Ryback have to be turned into a heel? And not just a heel, but a standard run-of-the-mill WWE massive chicken shit heel. Why? Now, instead of talking about feed me more, he's talking about Ryback rules. So you're trying to get one catchphrase over, and now you've introduced a whole new one. It's just mind-blowing. I just really want to know what the thought process is in the WWE sometimes. Ryback was supposed to be your number 2 babyface. And maybe if Cena had to go away for a little while, or he got hurt, or whatever the case might be, you could put Ryback in a position where he could be your number 1 babyface. But now you've turned him heel for no real dumb dick reason other than the fact of he's going against John Cena, so he has to be heel. No, he doesn't. Ryback's the type of character that should be going after heels, should be going after babyface, should be going after every damn buddy. He's supposed to be an unstoppable monster. He shouldn't be walking away and turning his back on John Cena because he doesn't want to fight him now. He's not supposed to be a cerebral heel. He's supposed to be a grade A, 100% all-American ass kicker. I get so frustrated with the WWE sometimes. And then they wonder why they're not doing better. They're wondering why people aren't getting over. They're wondering why they can't create new stars. It's because of dumb shit like this, period.
Last summer, Raw decided that it was going to go 3 hours. At the time, a little bit of excitement on the fact that we were thinking, hey, maybe we'll get some guys that don't get featured on TV. Maybe we'll get some better storylines. Maybe we'll get an undercard. Maybe they'll feature more tag teams. And none of it delivered. Here's what we get in a Raw. The same 5 or 6 guys in the same storylines, the same matches. I mean, God forbid that I have to see Kofi versus Dolph one more time. Seriously. The match is good, but I've seen it so many times now that I can pretty much tell you spot for spot what's going to happen. The guys I root for, they aren't there. The guys that are there, I have no reason to root for. The guys that I could get interested in, and do have a little interest in, they get shit on week after week. Damian Sandow, Cody Rhodes, guys that I actually gave a shit about. No, I don't care anymore. Because all the WWE wants me to care about is CM Punk, Randy Orton, John Cena. Week after week. Yeah, you can throw Sheamus in there too. But it's the same guys. Boring gimmicks, boring storylines. Raw needs to go back to 2 hours. It's easier to write for 2 hours and keep me entertained instead of 3, where it feels like a chore to sit down and watch the goddamn show. I mean, that extra hour, I could be doing something fun before I sit down and watch Raw. Go back to 2 hours, WWE. It's time. This experiment failed.
Now I take a few moments here to be a little serious. Nothing wrestling related or anything like that. Some of you probably already know this because you saw me post about it on Saturday on Facebook. But for those of you that don't, some of you care, some of you don't. But if anything else, I need to get this off my chest. And maybe for some of you that have experienced this yourselves, this could potentially be helpful to you. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a very big lover of animals, in particular my cats. And you know how hard it was for me back in October when Feisty passed away. It was my baby girl. I had her for 10 years, and you know, I miss her every day still. I think about her every single day. And I miss so many things about her. And I feel guilty at times because even though I know I loved her to death and I gave her the best treatment she could possibly get, I always feel guilty because I always feel like it wasn't enough and that I could have done better and that I could have paid more attention to her. There are times where I told her don't do that. I could have been like, just do it. I don't care. There's still always going to be that little bit of guilt there, but I love her and I miss her very much, and I do every day, and that will never change. But I was not prepared for what happened Friday night. You know, we all have our best friends in whatever shapes or species they may come. I got off of work Friday night and got home, and usually the way it goes for me is when I get off of work, I can expect to see two things. Before I get in the door, I can expect to see Precious sitting at the window squawking at me, saying, "Come on, feed me, give me loving." And then when I open the door, I can expect Precious to still be in that window looking at me, squawking at me, while Smokey's on the ground, usually looking at me and licking himself, wanting food. Well, I got home Friday night, same thing happened, got in, gave the guy some attention, fed him, and then went off here into the other room for a couple of minutes, and all of a sudden I heard this horrendous thud. It took me a few seconds to kind of dawn on me what that thud could potentially be. I'm sorry. When I got back in the other room, my best friend of 13 and a half years, Precious, had passed away. I don't know what exactly happened. All I know is that my best buddy, my brother, my son, is gone. It's hard to describe and hard to explain to a lot of people because he's been with me since I was 18 years old. Through good, bad, everything. If nothing else was going right, the one thing I could always count on was for him to be there. And at times be there for me. And in some ways it breaks my heart to know that he passed away and I wasn't even in the room with him. Because I feel like I could have helped him. I could have been there for him. But bless his little heart. I have to tell myself that he did it that way intentionally because he didn't want me to see. He didn't want me to remember him that way. It's hard to describe. I'm sorry. It's hard to describe the feeling of loss that I have right now. Because he was my running buddy. I feel like a large part of my adult life is dead and never going to come back. Because for 13 and a half years, he was always there. Since I was 18 years old. And now he's just gone, just like that. what I wouldn't give for just one more day with my best friend. And the hardest part was having to take him the next day. I took him to the vet, and having him cremated so I could his ashes, and having to say goodbye. Having to say goodbye to my best friend. My little buddy's gone, and part of the reason I tell you this is if you've got people, like family or friends or siblings, whatever the case might be, that you don't have a good relationship with or that you take for granted, don't. Because you never know when you could lose them. You never know when they could be taken away from you. Because even though I know he knows that I didn't take it for granted, and he knows that I loved him, I feel guilty. And I will always feel guilty. Because I feel like I could have done more for him. And I feel like at times I took him for granted. The bottom line is for those of you wondering, Smokey's okay. You can tell he's a little sad, but he misses who basically was a father figure to him. Now the worst part of all, I'm recording this on a Sunday. When I go to work in the morning, Precious isn't going to be there. When I come home at night, he's not going to be there waiting for me. For those of you that never got to be around him, I don't think you understand just how cool he was. Even people that didn't like cats, like this cat. He was awesome. He had a personality that was all his own. And now I have to say goodbye to my buddy. So, sorry you guys had to see me like this, but I needed this as much as anybody else. Maybe this could help somebody else if they're going through a rough time, or maybe you can learn from me. And don't take people around you for granted because they could be there one day and gone the next. And yeah, while he was a cat, he was my best friend in the entire world, and now he's gone. I will always love him. I will never forget all of the great times we had for 13 and a half years. Precious Daddy loves you more than you will ever know. I can only hope. I'm not a big believer in God or heaven or anything like that. But I can only hope that there is one. I hope that you and Feist are up there together and that someday we can all be together again.